Okay, welcome to the last lecture that I have in store for you, and I thought it would be nice to give you an additional lecture that focused on cryptography and encryption. I mentioned that this was a specialty area in uh, the lecture on information technology security, and it is a specialty. It takes a lot to understand it. I wanted to introduce it to you and give you some way to understand some of its concepts and some of the ideas behind it. It goes all the way back to Julius Caesar. He didn't trust his messengers with his messages, so he developed a cipher which really a simple substitution cipher. And all he would do was shift the letters of the alphabet, say by 3 or 4, and the letter A, if you shift it by 3, for example, you would move it to where the A would be under the D, and the B would be under the E. And so a D was an A, an E was a B, and so forth and so on. And you had to know how far to shift the letters to be able to decrypt the message that he sent to the generals or the soldiers in the field. And this was enough to ensure some secrecy to his strategies and to his communication. So it was a pretty clever idea, and it worked. In any cryptographic system, you have the ability to encrypt plain text into something that you can't understand without knowing either what the cryptographic algorithm is, the mathematical formula, or knowing what the key is. And then, of course, you can have cryptographic systems or crypto systems that by having different keys, you can have different encryption of the same plain text. And that's quite powerful in and of itself because you can change the key just in case you think that the key has been discovered by the enemy, so to speak. So strong cryptography will have several dimensions to it. It won't just be, say, a simple substitution cipher. It will have strong mechanics to it in the form of mathematics and the way in which the encryption is created, and then additional layers of security in terms of multiple keys. There are lots of cryptographic systems out there in use today. I mentioned DES and triple DES, 3DES, which is Data Encryption Standard, which is used by the federal government. It's a conventional crypto system, and it's very powerful. There are also others, though. There's AES. There's something called Pretty Good Privacy, PGP, which is used with email in many ways. And I'm just touching the surface here. I'm really not getting very deep into any of it because it can get strongly mathematical. One of the things you have to keep in mind is which way in which the cryptography is being done. For example, you have the problem of key distribution. Okay, how do you get, if you have to have the key and the other person has to have the key, then how do you get the key safely to the other person? How can it not be compromised? Someone gets a copy of the key while it's in transit to the other person. And this is why they created public key cryptography to avoid this problem here. It's solved by this concept. It's an idea that was introduced by Whitfield Diffie and Martin Hellman in 1975. Public key cryptography is what we call an asymmetric scheme that uses a pair of keys for encryption. A public key, which decrypts the data, encrypts the data, and a corresponding private or secret key for decryption purposes. So you've got two kinds of keys, the public one that encrypts the data and the private one that decrypts the data. It's a secret key too. So here again, you can publish your public key to the whole world while you keep the private key secret. Again, you've got additional layers of security by using this type of functionality with public key cryptography, or PKI as it's often called. You've got other types of things going on out there. The primary benefit, though, of public key cryptography is that it allows people who have no pre-existing security arrangements to exchange messages securely. And we have to, keep in mind that these systems are being, say, updated and kept safely. The way in which the algorithms are used, they aren't published either, so you're not going to find out how this is normally done. And even if you did have the complete algorithm, all of the mathematics, you still would need some really powerful processors to break the encryption system anyways. PGP combines some of the best features of both the conventional and public key cryptography that I was just talking about. PGP is a hybrid crypto system. When a user encrypts plain text with PGP, PGP first compresses the plain text and makes it smaller and more compact. Data compression saves modern transmission time and disk space, and more importantly, it's going to strengthen your cryptographic security. Most cryptanalyst techniques exploit patterns found in the plain text to crack the cipher, but compression is going to reduce these patterns so they're not as noticeable or they're not as available to someone who knows what to look for. Now, PGP is going to create what's called a session key, which is a one-time only secret key. And this key is a random number generated from the random movements of your mouse and the keystrokes that you type. The session key works with a very secure, fast, conventional encryption algorithm to encrypt the plain text. The result is cipher text. So again, we have another approach, and it's combining strengths of two different types of encryption systems. I've mentioned that public key cryptography is asymmetrical. We also have symmetrical encryption systems too. The asymmetrical is really referring just to the public and private key part. Symmetrical is that there is just one key. Let me define more for you what a key is too, so that you can have a better grasp of that. A key is a value that works with a cryptographic algorithm to produce a specific ciphertext. Keys are basically just really, really large numbers. That's what they are. The key size is measured in bits, and the number, say, representing a 1024-bit key is really large. That's 1024 bits. So it's a really large key. And you can have conventional 128-bit keys, but you can have its equivalent is a 3000-bit public key. And understanding just what that means is a little bit mathematical, so I don't want to throw you off on key sizes and some of the mathematics behind it. I'm just trying to open your eyes a little bit to what this means. You also have things like digital signatures. And what in the world is that? A major benefit of public key cryptography is that it provides a method for employing digital signatures. And digital signatures enable the recipient of information to verify the authenticity of the origin of the information, where it came from, and also verify that the information is intact, that it has integrity to it. Keep in mind that this is sort of like your handwritten signature on your check, but this is more of a digital representation of that, and is stronger, and it works very safely in authenticating that it came from the right source, and that the person who receives it can trust the information that they have received. Then you got hash functions, for example. Hashes are used, for example, in computer crime investigation. That's one of the lectures that I had earlier too. And what we try to do there is, if we have a hard drive that we're mirroring, and we're going to make a forensic quality copy of that hard drive so that we can use it in a courtroom setting, how do we verify for the court and do it in a way that it's uncompromised? We have to have a way to prove and show that the mirrored image that we took of this hard drive is actually a mirrored image of that hard drive. So we use what we call a hash function to do that with. And we generate a hash as a kind of an identifying stamp on the mirror hard drive. And we have to use a hash algorithm to generate that hash number with. And one of them is MD5, which is a hash generating algorithm for doing just that. It produces a secure hash, and there's no way to take someone's signature from one document and attach it to another, or to alter a signed message in another way, or to show that if the hash has changed in any way, it means that the hard drive, the mirror that we took of the hard drive, has been altered as well. So it's a way to show that something that came from here has actually made it to there without any modification or change. So that's why you use hash functions. Again, there's a lot to this, but I wanted to give you some idea of how you might look at cryptography and encryption, because you're going to run into it eventually in business relationships and in the types of things that you might do, say, with government work or contracts, legal documents, the transfer of patents and intellectual property, all those types of things that may take place in your business. And there is, I'm sure, a course at Must University which will cover all of the little details, little ideas around cryptography and encryption. And maybe this has helped you to find something that you want to study and look more into, and why you need to know about it and be able to apply some of the ideas. There's basics, but it gets quite involved. It doesn't mean you have to have a mathematic background and be a super mathematician to understand what do we mean by cryptography and what do we mean by public key infrastructure, which uses public key cryptography as its basis. And also, I might encourage you, if you are inclined mathematically, this is very lucrative if you can create encryption systems that are very useful for businesses and corporations, as well as governments and the military to use. So again, you've got an opportunity here if you want to go into the mathematics of this and learn how to produce cryptographic algorithms. Thank you for listening, and I hope this additional lecture will be to your satisfaction. Talk to you again soon.